everyone, this is Mr. D from the Art Trek, and in today's project video we will be learning how to draw anything using shapes. This is going to be a very basic, very simple way to draw stuff. You will need paper, a yellow, an orange, and a black marker, and whatever random objects you have around you so you can draw. I'll be starting off with this Elmer's glue bottle. And the first thing we gotta do is we have to find those big shapes. With our eyes, find those big shapes, breaking down into simple rectangles and squares. And that's how we get started. We will be using the yellow marker as a sketch. This is the lightest color that we have. So sketch out those big shapes that you see. And don't be afraid to make adjustments whenever you need to. Here I need the rectangle to be a little bit longer, so I went and go ahead and added that extra length to it. On to the next shape, I have a small square and the pointy tip, for now, I'm going to draw as a rectangle. The next color we are going to be using is the orange marker. We're going to go over the yellow shapes and we are going to edit them to look more like the object. For example, I started with a big rectangle for the Elmer's glue, but if you notice, the corners are kind of rounded. So with the orange marker, I'm going to be rounding off the corners to make it look more like the bottle. I'm also going to be looking for those smaller shapes inside the big shapes. For the final rectangle on top, I'm going to make sure that it's pointy, just like the glue bottle. Once I have the shapes the way I want them to be, I'm going to be using the black marker to draw the final drawing, the final object. Since black is the darkest color, this will be the final drawing. So I have to make sure that before I use the black marker, I have the yellow and orange sketches underneath to kind of plan out the object. In case I need to, I can ignore some lines and I can add more lines during this phase of my final drawing. So this same idea of starting off light and going darker and darker as you edit the shapes can be done with a pencil. Less pressure means you have a lighter drawing. The more pressure you add, you have darker lines, which means your drawing is darker. So only apply pressure when you have those final shapes ready to go. When we're drawing a second object next to the first object, the first thing we have to do is compare the sizes. Compare the size of the second object to the first object. I want you to compare the height and I want you to compare the width of it. Let's go ahead and use the yellow marker once again to kind of get those big shapes. And for this bottle, I have two big shapes. A little edit there. All right, orange marker time. Shaping it out. And again, with the black marker, I'm going to finalize the drawing and adding some details on it. Okay, so we've been adding big shapes together to create the object. This time around, I'm going to start with a really big shape This rectangle represents all the space this object takes up. And then I'm going to take away the shapes and parts that I don't need. So in this case, I'm going to split this up. I'm going to add some horizontal lines for the body, one for the neck, and one for the top of it. But I messed this one up. I'm going to go ahead and scratch this and just make the line a little lower. These sections represent the body, the neck, and the tip of this bottle. Now I'm going to take these rectangles and make them even smaller by trimming off the sides. Pay attention to where it's thinner and add some vertical lines to create the major shapes that you need. Once you bring the orange in, you can pick and choose the shape that you want to keep, and slowly you'll start creating the object. Once you have those shapes that you want to keep, use the black marker to add the final drawing, the final lines. Curve the lines to indicate that it's round if you need to. And don't forget to add any smaller detailed shapes that you see in the object as you're going over it with the final drawing using the black marker. Go ahead and find some objects. You can try this at home. And I'm just going to go ahead and send you off with another random object I found in my classroom, a hammer. And I start this one off with the big shape, and then I make them into smaller shapes, okay, wherever I need them. So here I have more of a mallet shape, but when I use the orange, I start adding the detailed shapes, the smaller ones, and I keep the things that I need and I take away or I don't use the parts I don't want. Here I made a small mistake with the size of the head of the hammer, and that's okay because this is not my final sketch. Once I bring in the black marker, I'm 100% sure of the lines I want to keep. And then I start tracing the lines that I do want to keep, and I ignore the lines that I don't need. Keep practicing this method, and eventually you'll be able to see these shapes automatically. You'll be able to go from an orange sketch to a final drawing in no time. Okay? So keep practicing, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.